If you're carving pumpkins here, you're one of the best in the world for sure.
Today we are carving pumpkins.
But not only carving, we are sculpting masterpieces.
This is Villafane Studios, which is kind of like a magical wonderland. You go through this little hobbit hole and you're in this like super cool place with so much detail.
A lot of us know how to carve a jack-o'-lantern. The typical triangles, smiley face, or frowny face, but Ray takes it to a whole nother level. These are 3D carvings in the pumpkin using pottery tools.
These are called ribbon loops, and they're not very sharp. You can't. It's very difficult to cut yourself with something like this.
Yeah,
It's
they
just
scrape. They're kind of abrasive.
It's more of a shaving a pumpkin. When I'm done carving a pumpkin, all there is these sort of transparent, thin pieces of shavings, and that's it. Never any chunks coming at all, ever. You know, people always ask me, were you inspired to do pumpkins like for a long time? Has this been something that ever since you were a kid you've been doing? No. Matter of fact, when I think about it, almost every single time as a kid when I sat down to do a pumpkin, I would grab the pumpkin, I'd look at it and I'd say, okay, what sort of triangle should I do now? And when I completed it, always an emptiness in me, like this was it. After college one day I got a pumpkin and said, I wonder what happened if I try to carve it three-dimensionally, like if I'm doing a wood carving. I was using a spoon and a knife and it just didn't work out.
So one of Ray's students brought him a pumpkin one day. He was teaching art class and he carved it.
At this time I was a school teacher, so I had these sorts of tools. You know, I had pottery tools, so let me try the pottery tools on it. And that's what hooked me.
He learned his sculpting techniques by making action figures out of wax and clay.
You know, I was doing stuff for like Marvel and DC Comics and all that sorts of stuff. When I was doing the collectible thing, it wasn't like I discovered that. But the process of the carving, I felt a little bit more involved in the discovery of it.
So one of the neat features of his display is these preserved pumpkins, basically pickled pumpkins.
Right here is a pickled pumpkin.
Yeah, he was carved over a year ago. We got a job in Hong Kong several years ago, and before we got the job, I told the client, I'm like, you know, listen, we've never done this before. We ended up getting in Ripley's Believe It or Not for the thing, and so we had a lot.
Wow.
It was a big accomplishment.
His entire life revolves around the month of October, where they set up an enchanted garden full of pumpkins with backstories and mice and scarecrows, and it's a whole town, a little pumpkin village full of enchantment.
My goal is to be like the Santa Claus of Halloween. I want to come out once a year with all the stuff that we've been creating, make a magical experience for people to enjoy. That display is the Enchanted Pumpkin Garden. I bring in sculptors from all over the world, and we're doing live carvings. We have the scarecrows that we build, we have the mice, and at the base, at the core of it all is some fun storytelling.
Ray isn't just a sculptor, he's a storyteller too, and one of the coolest things about all his pumpkins and mice and decorations and scenes is they all have backstories.
The scarecrow's name is Mr. Hollows.
Mr. Hallows.
All right. On a full moon night, below a murder of hungry crows, hid 3 little mice inside the head of Mr. Hollows. And this is an actual photo of inside.
Whoa.
In the shadows of his gourd, they kept from getting eaten while handing out corn to the kids trick-or-treating. One thing I do is that I tend, when I'm doing my storytelling, is to always follow whatever I'm inspired at the moment. It's one of the reasons I don't plan a lot. I'm probably one of the most unorganized people you'll ever meet, and I'm fine with that. I've learned years ago to embrace that in me. In that is, I believe, the gift. It's the gift that because I'm not organized, I tend to allow for those inspired, last-minute aha things to feed them. Most people say, okay, no, I got a game plan I got to stick by. And that's totally not me. I enjoy things as they come, and to listen and feel for when something is pulling me a certain way.
It's how his pieces interact with the environment around him. Mabel crash landed because she fell asleep flying in the sky, and you can see the fence destroyed around her.
Miss Mabel over here was our favorite carving of the day. It's so impressive. She's made out of sand, entirely out of sand.
And whenever she falls asleep, she's known to sleep for a century or more. So she's going to be sleeping here for like 100 years.
Long time.
Yeah, and then there's a little mouse that wants her to wake up because the mouse wants to go flying.
A lot of times, the adults will bring their children, but if you read the stories, there's a lot of hidden, adult humor.
The name of this vehicle is the HWAT, H-W-A-T, the HWAT vehicle, which is Hazardous Waste Accumulation Tanker. And part of the adult humor in this is that in the newspaper article talks about how it was immediately recalled after its original name was the Toxic Waste Accumulation Tanker. And then I leave it at that.
I've got it.
There's all these little setups throughout this park that are gonna set the scene for the pumpkin displays. So each one is going to have their own storyline come Halloween.
Even though he is a great artist and sculptor, he still likes to wander and find things that would work better than what he could create.
I think a big part of the creative process that most people overlook is the discovery. Just kind of, like people ask, what do you do the rest of the year? Because they think they'd see that I do a lot of Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's spent hiking, really, like hiking and really finding the ingredients and coming up with the ideas, sitting on the stories. And my career has brought me more towards realizing an idea as opposed to building an idea.
It's all about upcycling and reusing old material to make new art.
I love the idea of making stuff from what would seemingly be nothing.
Can you tell me of this stuff? Do you have plans? Like, are there things where
Okay.
you're like, this is going to be
Yeah.
X, Y,
I don't know
Z?
when,
Yeah.
but this will be hair. This brush will be hair to some sort of
Yes,
scarecrow.
Okay.
This is going to be, I thought, an engine compartment, wood with metal encrusted all around it and amazing color. Thought maybe make it a little pirate pumpkin that could be the stump leg.
Yes.
This would be the hip. Just a wire screen, but it's rusted perfect.
Yeah.
So what someone else's junk is, I absolutely love. Like looking for the fingers for the scarecrows is so fun. It's like hiking and oh, look, this little dead branch, it looks like a finger. And that sort of treasure hunt out in nature is, it's the best.
It's not about being perfect and being clean and being sterile. It's about sparking creativity and seeing one thing that leads to another and gives you an idea the next day for something even better.
Okay, so this is a potato. I carved it months ago. We pickled it in vinegar. And then after being in vinegar for a few months, I took it out and let it dry. And I was pleasantly surprised to see it dry like a piece of wood. I feel like I'm here to almost prove that you don't need anything to make stuff. Like everything is already here. So you could make something so incredibly magical, and most of the value that comes out of it is really up to you to perceive.
You go there for pumpkins, and then there's all these other things, and now rock balancing is a part of this world.
As you build a rock balance up, you want to make sure that you have a stable foundation. There's always going to be a downward gravitational push. So right here, I could feel that if I stay right here, it's kind of stable. If I don't quiet myself enough, I'm going to start shaking and doubt, and that's how it happens.
You gotta have some balance in yourself and not anticipate
absolutely.
what's next. You just have to allow it to happen.
But the key is, as I get higher, this hand will need to be applying a particular amount of pressure. But there's a part of this process that's a little bit more than the things I've talked about. There is having an artistic eye to create something that looks aesthetically pleasing. But it's this process, like that falling doesn't do it. It just makes me want to, I already tasted it in my mind,
Yeah.
the success of it. It's all a mind game. Like all of this is just a mind game. All of your dreams, anything you ever want to do, it's just a mind game. And yeah. A lot of people tell me that that I must be patient, like especially when they see the rocks, or if I'm sitting there carving something that, wow, I don't have that patience, and I'm not a patient person at all. I think if most people engaged what they love to do, they wouldn't need to be patient. But often people are looking at a trophy and not enjoying the game that they've decided is the path to get them to that trophy. And when you do things like that, you need patience because you need to weather through the grind. But if you start to tend to yourself and pay attention and discover who you are and what turns you on, what you like, then you no longer need to even think about the word patience. It's the set point or the direction you're going that you will enjoy. So the goals that I have for this world that I'm creating, they're gonna happen because I'm enjoying the process of it, and I'm not gonna stop, and I'm gonna keep pushing it in a playful way that I know will resonate with people and hopefully inspire them to discover themselves a little bit more.
I think my takeaway from this was we all have something to create. We all have something to make. It doesn't matter what you're making, just make something and find a way to make it yours and make it unique to you. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing, because whatever you are going to make is gonna be special, and it's gonna bring a uniqueness to this world that we need.
Now that we've learned from the expert on carving and dressing pumpkins, maybe it's time for you to learn how to dress yourselves by watching this video about a costume shop where we go over 28,000 different costumes for Halloween.